Hey coloring friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another reverse color along, and this is from the book by Rita Berman called Meine Reise, durch Europa. And we're going to complete that page. So meet me on the other side and we'll get started. So here we have a new page I just completed, and this is again from the book Meine Reise, durch Europa by Rita Berman. And last time we did page 17, and this time this is page 65. I've got a coloring cheat sheet for you. This is super simple. There's only 3 combos, and we're going to add some distress ink, and I decided to wait to do that on camera with y'all. So hopefully we can all learn together. But there's only 11 pencils. It's super easy, so why don't we hop in with combo number 1. This is what I call a reverse color along. I will leave a link at the top right hand corner of this video, linking you to what that is and what that means. Basically, I've already colored the page. I'm introducing you to some combos on a cheat sheet, and we're going to color the combos on the facing page. So with combo number 1, it's mainly 3 pencils: salmon, middle cadmium red, and burnt umber. And sometimes I use the light cadmium red, which to me just reads very orange, in the combos, and I'll show you what I mean. So if we look at the page here, you can see most of these are the salmon to the middle cadmium red down to the burnt umber. But there is some where I was kind of fickle. There's this light cadmium red, again, that reads orange to me, where I added it in the body of the flower or to the combo, just where I felt like maybe it needed a little more pigment. So you can color the combo either way. Let me show you how it's done using this facing page. Let me zoom in real quick. Okay, we're gonna start out with the salmon, and I'm gonna just color light to dark heading in towards the middle or the center of the flower. So we'll start out with the salmon, and most of this petal will be the salmon color. Then I will switch to the middle cadmium red. And then at the bottom, it's going to be the burnt ochre. So we'll bring the red back up. And then finish it off with the salmon. And I'm coloring over all 3 colors with the salmon to really get a good blend there. So let me color a petal sort of reverse of that. I'm going to start with the salmon in the middle. So you can color your flowers any way that you want to. And then the middle cadmium red, burnt ochre, or sorry, umber, not burnt ochre, burnt umber. I apologize. Back to the red, and then we'll top that off with the salmon. So you can see 2 different ways to color your petals. Now over here, oops, you can see here, this is salmon, and I started out using the salmon, and then I introduced the red right about down here, the middle cadmium red, and then the burnt umber is at the bottom. So even on this petal here, you could see it's salmon with the middle cadmium red and the burnt umber. But the orange, light cadmium red, I added here in the middle. So you can do that any way you want to, but on these petals, I always started out with the salmon from the inside of the petal, I guess the inside of the flower, it really is the outside of the petal, down towards the bottom of it. So I stayed consistent with how I at least applied that color. Now over here in this top corner on these flowers, I alternated. You could see I colored some of the petals, like the first one we did. The only difference is that I had salmon, then middle cadmium red, then burnt umber. But after I colored that whole petal, I came back in and added the burnt umber as like an outline out here on the outside. And then on this petal, oops, I scooted that too far. It's like the last one we just did. The salmon's in the middle cadmium red, and then the burnt umber at the end, edge of the petal. So that's pretty easy, right? Easy peasy. Lastly, so on these flowers up here, I stayed consistent where the lightest part of the petal was on the outside edge, and then I colored it darker as I went in towards where that petal is tucked in under maybe another petal on top of it. And that helps give it a boost of shadow. Okay, let's get to combo 2. Combo 2 is super easy, and it's also such a pretty combo. I think this is my favorite on the page. And this is what we'll use for our leaves. We're going to use warm gray 3, earth green, yellowish, juniper green, and chrome oxide green. So what this is, it's mostly a really pretty green combo, but I anchored it at the end with this warm gray 3 to kind of give it a more muted look to the green combo than I probably normally would. Just something different. Y'all know I like to use unique color combos. So let me show you how I use that. So you can see here on the page, let me show you like here. I've got the warm gray at the top. Then the earth green yellowish is most of the leaf. And then after that I come in with the juniper green and then the chrome oxide green at the very edge to sort of deepen that combo. But that's what I did. I stayed pretty consistent with how I colored these. Like here on this leaf, I gave the edge maybe a little bit more warm gray 3. You can see up here, there's a lot more warm gray 3. So it really depends. I think if you alter it, like how far and how deep you go with your, where you start and stop your colors, that gives it a lot of variation and makes it, kind of mixes it up and makes it really interesting. So here, I've got a lot of warm gray too, as I went down into the earth green yellowish. I'm sorry, I have to still look at these color names. I can't remember them. So let me show you how that's done on this page. And we're gonna start here, and I will start with the warm gray 3, just kind of on the very edges of that leaf. Then the earth green yellowish. I'm going to color it some of the way into the gray, but not all the way. Now the juniper green will start coming in probably about a third of the way. Well, you can see where the contour lines are, maybe a third of the way from the center stem of the leaf. And then lastly is the chrome oxide green. So I start out by coloring that center stem of the leaf. And then I just kind of like, just brush a little bit of color on either side of that, sort of smudge it a little bit, and then come back with the juniper green. Earth green yellowish, and again take that earth green yellowish all the way down over all of those greens that we just colored. And then the warm gray 3. And I'm bringing that down further over the earth green yellowish to kind of blend it a little bit more. And then at the end, I'll take the chrome oxide green and accent these little lines. And I like to thicken them and kind of make them a little sloppy because I think that gives them more texture. Now on the little fold parts here, I didn't use the gray. I just started out with the earth green yellowish. And like on this one, I think I'm actually going to just color that whole piece juniper green. And up here, I'll just add a little juniper green. And that's all there is to that. Now, one last piece. Grab your black pencil. And this is where you will add a little bit of a shadow. So I'm outlining that little flap. I'm just adding the tiniest hint of a shadow. And I'm using the earth green yellowish to color that in. And one thing I did do over on the facing page is after I colored everything, I did outline You know I like to do my outlines. I did outline everything again with my black pencil. I recommend a very sharp pencil, unlike the one I'm using right now. But that really helps give it a little more definition. I did the same too on the flowers, by the way. So let's color one more. Here we'll color this one right here. So this one I'm going to make a little more gray dominant. And again, once that whole page is done, I would come in, add a little bit more of the black outline. Again, this is optional. This is a personal preference. You might like it just the way it is. I'm really bad about getting out of the lines when I do this, by the way, but I don't care. I like the way the finished product looks. And y'all know I'm not perfect on this channel by any means. Okay, so that is combo number 2. Again, if we come back over here, now that we've colored it, you can see, like on a similar leaf, how we use the gray at the edge, earth green yellowish on most of the leaf, then the juniper, and then last is the chrome oxide green, and just follow that pattern. Okay, with that, we'll do combo 3. Okay, you can see on the page, I've also got some brownish colored flowers, and I did that to offset the very pretty coral, peachy colored flowers, just to kind of give the page a little more dynamic range. And you can see here, we're using warm gray 3, walnut brown, and dark sepia, but most of this combo is the warm gray 3. So let me show you. You can see here, I'm using now this petal. One thing I did, and this is optional, and I'm sorry I didn't put it on the cheat sheet. So I started out with the warm gray 3, then there's the walnut brown, and then the dark sepia at the bottom. After that, after I colored this one in particular, I realized I wanted a little more, so I just came back in with very lightly with a little salmon. That's optional. Most of these flowers here and over here, I did not use salmon on the petals. It looks like I did a little bit here, but down here at the bottom, this is, oh yeah, there's a little salmon there too. I probably should add that to the cheat sheet. I'm sorry, you guys. But usually, like up here for sure, I just use the 3 different browns. So why don't we come over here and we'll try coloring this together. Okay. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start out with the warm gray. We'll color the petals 2 different ways. The warm gray over most of that petal. Then the walnut brown. This is sort of a warmer brown. And then the sepia at the very bottom of that petal. Back to the walnut brown, and then the warm gray to finish it off. Okay, now here, if you wanted to, this is where you could take the salmon and just add a little bit. But again, that's optional. You can color it any way you want to. You see, I color outside the line. So now let me do this petal here, and we'll color it the opposite, going from the inside out. So we're going to color warm gray on most of the petal, the walnut brown, and then the sepia. And the sepia is just at the really very edge, the dark sepia. Back to the walnut brown, and then the warm gray. So I won't use the salmon on that one so you can see the difference. That's all there is to it. Now again, and I didn't show you up here, but with these petals, that petal is overlapping this one, so I would come in and just add a little bit of a shadow there. And on these little accent lines, you could take your sepia or your walnut brown and accent those the same. In fact, this dark sepia almost reads black, so you could even use your dark sepia for your shadows here. Let me come back over here. Okay, so you can see here, this is where I use the color from the warm gray on the inside to the outside, and then here from the outside to the inside. Most of them I preferred going inside out on these flowers. I think that dark edge is just so pretty with that lighter petal color. But again, choose to do it however you'd like. Okay, lastly, let's put down some distress ink. I'll be right back. Okay, for this page, I selected 2 distress ink colors, Shabby Shutters and Pumice Stone. And I think those 2, originally I was going to try like an antique rose. I think that's what it's called. It's more of a pinkier color. Let me show you. Here's where I was playing with the colors, and I thought that was too much, and I didn't feel like I could blend it very well. I probably could if I really focused and tried, but instead I decided I just like the Pumice Stone and the Shabby Shutters together, so that's what we'll be working with. Let me get set up here. So I always like to put a piece of cardstock behind the page I'm working on. So we'll do that. And here I'm using these mini distress inks. I will leave links to these and these little tools in my description for y'all. So we're going to start out with the Shabby Shutters. I do have a link to how to apply distress inks on a page you've already colored, so I'll leave that in the top corner for y'all. But I'm just going to start putting this color in. I'm not going to do the whole page though. I'm going to just kind of do like just around this bouquet. We'll see. I might change my mind. Okay, that's the Shabby Shutters. Now we'll come in with the Pumice Stone. And I really like the way the Shabby Shutters lay down. You could even stop right there if you wanted to, but we're gonna add some interesting color here with the Pumice Stone. Kind of darkens it just a little bit. And I'm kind of using it just around the edges to almost make it look like a little bit of a shadow. And I'm just using like the edge of this sponge here. You can add some of the pumice stone in the middle if you want to. So there's some areas that I think I left a little lighter. But yeah, that's it for the most part. Now the last place I want to put this is the pumice stone, just around this top edge up here. And I'm just going to leave it like that. And I think I'm going to call that done. The last thing I might do is come back in. I left these little circles. I hadn't decided how I wanted to color them. I thought that if I went with a much darker background, I could use like a white Posca pen, but I think I'll just come back in here. I'm getting my juniper green, and we'll just color those green. Okay, one last detail. I'm going to take my black pencil, and really come along the edge of the outside. And I'm going to add a little bit more of a shadow there. We'll do it here. So this very light shadow plus the pumice stone should really help set this off a little bit more. Let's see, I don't like this. This needs a little more. I think I just didn't outline this yet. I think it's a little bit more something. Okay, I don't know what I'll do. I think I'll just leave the green. I think I just needed a little more of a line to really separate that. Okay, we can come down here. But y'all can definitely see my thought process in action as we're doing this. I'm not really much of a planner on my coloring pages. I just like to grab some colors and dive in. I know there are a lot of people that are way more talented than I'll ever be, that come up with a plan and then they organize how they want to color their page. And I think that's awesome. And I'm also intimidated by that. Okay, so here, just adding a little bit more of a shadow, maybe also on this leaf here. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with this. I sometimes don't like to do the background on the whole page, and so this was kind of a shortcut to doing that. I will leave the links I shared with you in the video and also in the video description. This, unlike the last video, will have the colored pencil conversions across 6 additional colored pencil sets. And the cheat sheet packet will be available as a free download in my coffee shop. So I think that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see y'all next time. Thank you.